If you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if you enjoy stories like this, then make sure you subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because what we are about to walk through right now is one of the most important moments in PGA Tour history, and most fans have no idea how deep this really runs. 11 of them. 11 top players. The names you'd see on leaderboards any given Sunday. The names the networks call first. The names sponsors sign checks for. And every single one of them said no. Not "I'll think about it." Not "send me the notes." Not "I'll dial in from the road." No. As in no, I'm not walking in that room. And what happened in the hours that followed has the entire PGA Tour scrambling to figure out who actually runs this game. The people swinging the clubs, or the people running the front office. Wait till you hear how this started, because this wasn't a slow burn. This wasn't a leak. This was a detonation. It was supposed to be a quiet meeting, a closed door, by invitation only, sit down and listen emergency gathering called by Brian Rolapp, the new PGA Tour CEO who officially stepped into the chair on January 1st. The agenda: vote on a sweeping competitive overhaul designed to reshape pro golf for the next decade. Bigger fields, promotion, and relegation. A new two-track framework built around what Rolapp himself, in his first public comments as CEO, called relentless focus on the competitive product. Sounds reasonable, right? Sounds like a leader doing his job. But here's the part nobody outside that phone call will ever fully understand. The players didn't say no because they hate Rolapp. They didn't say no because they hate change. According to reports and chatter from inside the locker rooms, they said no because of how it felt. The timing, the optics, the show up, sit down, vote yes, walk out energy of it all. There's a phrase that keeps floating around this week, and it goes like this: we got the press release before we got the handshake. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because this is where the story really starts. Because this isn't just about 11 empty chairs in a meeting room. This is about trust. And trust in pro golf is the rarest currency on earth. Let me back up, because you need the full picture to feel what I'm feeling right now. Brian Rolapp came in with a reputation. Quiet operator. Strategic. The kind of executive who doesn't tweet, doesn't grandstand, doesn't do pressers unless he has to. He was supposed to be the steady hand after the chaotic chapter that came before him. The merger drama. The subpoenas. The LIV fallout. The whole "we never seriously considered a deal with the Saudis" drama. The previous commissioner limped out the door, and Rolapp was supposed to be the adult in the room. For a few months, that worked. The Future Competition Committee did its work. The 2026 Player Advisory Council was announced. Adam Scott and Lucas Glover put their hats in the ring for PAC chairman. New faces started showing up. Maverick McNeely, Keith Mitchell, Camilo Villegas, Patrick Cantlay still holding his player director seat. The whole machine started to breathe a little easier. Then came this meeting, and the room got quiet in a different way. Now, this is where everything has changed. When 11 players, the ones who carry this tour on their backs week in, week out, refuse to show up, that's not a scheduling conflict. That's a signal. That's a message being delivered in the only language front offices understand. Numbers, optics, power. And the message is this: we're not props in your relaunch. You need to understand what these 11 players actually represent. We're not talking about journeymen fighting for cards. We're talking about names who, if they all walked at the same time, would collapse the live product within a season. We're talking about majors. We're talking about Ryder Cuppers. We're talking about the men who keep the lights on with viewership numbers every single weekend. And when that group says "we'll pass," that is the loudest silence in sports. But here is the part that should genuinely worry every fan. The two-track framework, the one this emergency meeting was supposed to bless, is now stuck. Limping, half dead on arrival. And the tour, with its 2028 competitive reset already pinned to a wall somewhere in Ponte Vedra, has to figure out what comes next with the very people whose careers the new format will reshape, telling them, politely but firmly, not like this. And those three words matter most. Not like this. Not no forever. Not no reform. Just not like this. But this is the part that keeps me up at night. There is a scenario, and I've watched enough tour politics to smell these things, where Rolapp pushes forward anyway. He soft launches the framework. He lets the calendar come out anyway. He gambles that in 2 years, when the changes are live, the players will fall in line because the money will fall in line. That has happened before in sports. That happens all the time. But there's also another scenario, a scarier one. What if the 11 were only the beginning? What if more players go quiet in the weeks ahead? What if the next emergency meeting has 15 empty chairs? 20? That's the domino the tour does not want to tip. Because once a critical mass of players goes silent, the sponsors start asking different questions. The broadcast partners start asking different questions. And suddenly, Rolapp's relentless focus becomes relentless chaos. Now wait. This is the part of the story I really want you to feel. Because underneath all the politicking, underneath the leaked memos and the back-channel phone calls and the burner accounts on golf Twitter, there is a human question. A simple, honest, golf fan question. Do the players still believe the PGA Tour is theirs? And that question, not the schedule, not the format, not the framework, that question is the soul of this whole fight. Because for decades, the tour sold itself as the Players' League. The players owned the narrative. The players earned the purses. The players decided who got to walk inside the ropes. That was the implicit contract. And right now, that contract feels like it's being rewritten in a room most of those players weren't even invited into. And that's exactly why those 11 chairs were empty. And this is where everything has changed. Let me tell you what I think is really going on. Rolapp isn't the villain here. The previous commissioner wasn't really the villain either. The truth is messier than that. The truth is that pro golf is at a crossroads, and the people in charge are trying to professionalize a sport that, for 100 years, ran on handshakes and gut instinct. That's a noble goal. But noble goals without buy-in are just PowerPoint slides. And the players, the 11, the 20, the 50 who never wanted to be on camera for this, they're telling you in their silence exactly what they think of slides without buy-in. Now, here is something most casual fans won't see. The PAC election is happening this year. Adam Scott versus Lucas Glover. Both candidates have publicly signaled that player vote matters more than ever. Both candidates have privately told agents they want more transparency, more voting power, more real say in any new competitive model. That election is not background noise. That election is the next domino. Whoever wins will inherit this mess. Whoever wins will be the one deciding whether Rolapp's framework gets a second chance or gets buried. In that race, that quiet, low-turnout, easy-to-miss PAC race might just decide the next decade of pro golf. Now, this is the part of the story that should keep every fan's eyes open. Because the danger isn't that Rolapp fails. The danger is that Rolapp succeeds without the players. The danger is a future where the tour is well-run, well-financed, well-branded, and emotionally dead. Empty fairways. Players going through the motions. Fans watching because it's on, not because it's alive. We have seen that game before. We have watched that game before. We know how that movie ends. And that is why this moment matters. And this is where everything changed for the everyday fan. You, me, the guy dropping 20 on a replay package on a Sunday night. Because in the old days, the tour's biggest fights were about prize money or schedule or how many events to play overseas. Fights we watched like a soap opera. Fights we turned the channel from. But this fight is about identity. It's about whether the modern PGA Tour is a player-led league or a corporation-led product. And once you ask that question out loud, you cannot unask it. And here is the part that should sincerely move you. The players who didn't show up, whether you agree with their decision or not, did something rare. They put their name, their face, their relationships on the line for a principle. Not for money, not for minutes of TV time, for the principle that the players get a real seat at the table, not a folding chair in the lobby. That is courage. That is what leadership looks like before the trophies. And whether Rolapp sees it that way, whether the board sees it that way, will tell us everything about the next chapter of this tour. So let me ask you this, because I sincerely want to read every answer in the comments. Was the boycott the right move? Or should those 11 players have walked into that room, voiced their concerns face-to-face, and voted either yes or no like adults? Tell me what you think. Tell me where you stand. Are you team players or team office? Or do you, like a lot of us, think both sides are half right and half wrong, and the only real answer is somewhere in the messy middle? Drop your answer below. Speak up. Because the comment section is where the tour should be reading what the fan base actually feels. And right now, the fan base is loud. This is why stories like this matter. They are not gossip. They are not drama. They are the hinges the future swings on. The next decade of professional golf, the structure you watch on Sundays, the names you see at the majors, the leaderboards you argue about with your buddies. All of it runs through moments exactly like this one. And right now, as a fan, all you can do is watch. But you can also speak. So speak up. Stay with us through this one. Watch closely. Because the next PAC election, the next framework vote, the next emergency meeting, it's going to define what the PGA Tour looks like when your kids sit down to watch it for the first time. And that's worth caring about. Until the next big story, keep watching, keep caring, keep swinging.